Hey, what's happening, everybody? Just trying to learn something new. What's going on, everybody? Just trying to learn something new. Just want to talk about just some things, man, going around the state, especially MSP. We talked about the guy escaping uh, not long ago, a couple of weekends ago, but he was apprehended in Oklahoma. So I think it's safe to say that he's going to tell on everybody. He's already had started telling on everybody. It's amazing how guys won't seek to protect that fellow convict. He's not going to tell on the guy that took to the back gate in case he ever works his way back down. He still had same ride, but it's a sign of the unfettered power or the range that these special detail guys have, in the sense that the superintendent let them go anywhere all times of night. They even call in their own count. Man, where they do that at? You know what I mean? I spent 23 years in prison, man, and we were ever out of the unit doing a count. There had to be an out count. So I think that them not overseeing these guys and giving them free range, you're gonna have a lot of stuff. And it's been rumored that they're the one who's moving the contraband back and forth to different units. So I think that until Batman takes it upon himself to leave Gotham City, we're going to continue to have these instances of corruption and violence, escapes. You know what I mean? And inmates getting hurt, staff getting hurt, and a rash of suicide, because with him not having a positive relationship with the staff that works there, they don't respect him. I think some of them fear him a little bit out of respect, but the ones that's on his side, his puppets, his stepping fetches, they don't care anything about it. They just want to see, as long as they stay safe, they just want to exact his will and oppression on the other people who are there at MSP, in the same way it is with SMCI, uh, with Brad Huffman down there. So I think that until we get some oversight and dethrone him or make him responsible for the mistakes that are going on at MDOC and around the state and the other prisons that he's in charge of, Delta, uh, Marshall County, you know what I mean? Everything that's in the north, Batman is responsible for. Everything in the south, Huffman and his people are responsible for. Why? They gave him more prisons to be responsible for. Was it to increase his pay raise? Was it to whatever it was, man? It's not working. You know what I mean? Anytime that an offender can leave on a Saturday and not be found missing until Monday, and the person that comes on locks his door behind the other officer that allegedly let him out of the side door. If they go back and watch the camera, they'll see that that wasn't the first time that he left. It's the first time he didn't come back. You see what I'm saying? So I think that them just checking to see when he left is not enough. Go back a couple of weeks and look at the tape, and you'll see that he left 29 several times and came back with duffel bags of contraband to be distributed amongst 29. So how can an offender that's on lockdown, this is a lockdown unit, leave and come back with duffel bags of contraband unless there's some, staff involvement? You know what I mean? How's it get to the other unit? How's he carrying it? So it has to be some other offenders involved too that has free range on the institution when there's nobody else watching. So I think that we have to be mindful that uh, these situations occur when you put power and trust into a group of people. You trust them to call in their account. Of course, if I'm responsible for calling the account and I'm incarcerated, every time I call in, all my people are going to be there. You know what I mean? They shouldn't have access to four-wheelers to ride around in the night doing anything. You know what I mean? If they are allowed to use the four-wheelers during the daytime or the evening time, they should be turned in and the keys should be checked out at key control, just like when staff come to get a vehicle, they have to check out a key at key control. So why these people, um, some of them who have life sentences, why do they have keys to vehicle where they can ride all across Parchman ground all times of night and go anywhere? And if the staff is riding around in a state vehicle, you got CID stopping them, want to shake them down or wondering why he's moving, at that time of night. What's up, nephew? So I think that we have a misconstrued sense of power when we have corrupt leadership at the top. And I say it's corrupt. It's easy to say it's corrupt when you openly and blatantly violate nepotism laws and nothing is being done to you. You know what I mean? What do you have over the Joker, uh, the top man in the state over MVOC, that he can't put you in check or hold you accountable? Is you the one that's moving, misappropriating, through clubs, through the inmate clubs where the money came up missing twice, and it said that you're going to start the clubs back up. Why? It didn't work the first time because the money kept coming up missing. So why are you going to start something that didn't work the first time? Why don't you fix the lease at 29? Why don't you fix the lax security at 29? Why don't you hold the people responsible that Triggs escaped on, who shifted Triggs escaped on, instead of trying to blame somebody else who was not there at work? You know what I mean? So we have a lot of instances, man, where people are out of line, out of order, and totally have a sense of disregard for the will to do right. Like I tell you, like I've told you before, like I've said in the past, when something like that happens to a black officer, or there's a rumor created by an inmate that this black officer is bringing in contraband or whatever, you immediately let them go without any check. But when it's what's up, baby? When it's staff that looks like him, that looks like Batman, you immediately tell him or her to go home. You made a mistake. Just wait a year and you can apply back. So there's several officers, man. Just the same way when Taylor worked there, and Taylor violated so many people's civil rights, inmates and staff alike. Uh, but he was allowed to resign. You know what I mean? I got the video where he put two civilians, drunk civilians, that had a wreck on Parchman ground, and took them home to Clarksdale in the state vehicle because he didn't want to call the police on them. I have the video. And as CID, he directed McDonald to put one of the offenders in the car and to take them to Clarksdale with him, take them to Clarksdale along with him. Because he had the dog in the car, he couldn't fit both of them in his car. He had Warren McDonald to put one of the offenders in his car and to drive them at 3 in the morning on Labor Day. What did he do that at? And both of them high and cool around. You know what I mean? The highway patrolman told them to sleep it off in front of the prison, before they could get that truck. The truck was wrecked. It wasn't drivable. One of the wheels that came off actually had broken, and it was wrecked right in front of the prison ground. McDonald was duty officer, was duty warden, and he called the young man up, and he told him, "Well, no, we ain't gonna call him. We ain't gonna send him back to jail. But get your vehicle. And I'm gonna put one in my car. I'm gonna put one in the other one, and you take it home. And you take him home. Follow me. We'll take him home. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah, that's true. But the governor's not going to do anything because it's the governor's appointee. You know what I mean? And so we've been sending stuff to the DOJ, so it's up to them. So I don't think that. I think like you said, the whole chain is rusted and corrupt. So until until somebody comes up with enough nerve or courage to fight this injustice and corruption without fear of backlash, I think that nothing is going to happen. They're going to keep on doing what they want to do. They're going to keep on uh, misappropriating state fund. But how can you take food that was bought by the state for MDOC and feed the football team from your hometown after they won. How can you um, take money from a club and build a pavilion, out at the fish pond? Where did that money come from? How can you take state money and house your horses on MSP and nobody is saying anything? It's like you have free range to do what you want to do um, at the institution. And so until somebody, um, whether it's the MDOC oversight committee, in which they're not doing anything because they got it, they can see everything. I tagged them and everything. Mississippi Hot Topic sends them a lot of stuff. We had another guy just died at CMCL yesterday. What was his name? I want to say Morris Simmons or something like that. He passed yesterday, allegedly an overdose. We have guys who are sick and need treatment that should be sent home. Like the field minister Weezer, he was sick. Doctor said there was nothing else that they could do for him. Give me a call too, Jerry. They were saying they couldn't do it, that there was nothing that they could do for him. Yet and still, they let him die at the hospital. In which you have the hospital administrator, um, who's over Area 2, that rides around her truck and worried about what everybody else is doing instead of ensuring that the hospital is clean, instead of ensuring that the doctors at the hospital are giving uh, people at Violacor are giving the offenders the necessary care that they need, or ensuring that they are able to get out to the hospital like they're supposed to. There are a lot of people, man, that pass at MSP and that deaths could have prevented if they had got them to an outside hospital. They said they're short staffed, but you can get together a crew to go down to Delta to cut the grass or to fix a maintenance problem at Delta. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, that's true. You know what I mean? I've been sending it, so it's on them. I can't control. The only thing I can do is get them the information. You know what I mean? I appreciate it. It's when they're infringing upon people's right, man, and run them off, so to speak, when they don't want to get in line with their corruption. He used the term to run them off. How can you sit up at a meeting and tell everybody, I'm your daddy? You know what I mean? Like, I'm your daddy. You do what I say, or you can leave, or even make the statement that I fire on Friday. So, if you make it past Friday, you're doing okay because I know I'm gonna fire on Friday. So when you do people like that, when you run testing, and when you get people that you recruit who look like me, who look like us, that are African American, to carry out your misdeeds amongst the people and amongst the inmate, then you can throw the rock and hide your hand. You can say, you have plausible deniability, in which, in fact, there's no way, as the head, hey, Ms. Odom, how you doing? As the head of an institution, organization, that you could ever have plausible deniability. And so I think that that's our phone, baby. Yeah. And so I think that when we continue to let this happen, then we're going to continue to have deaths at EMCL, deaths at Walnut Grove, CMCL, Marshall County. Man, I haven't even touched on CMCL because I want to really deal with Brock Owens and St. Julian, the warden and the deputy warden, but there's so much going on. You see what I mean? So when the inmate have a heart attack, you can't even take him to the outside hospital. See, and that's the kind of corruption and the things you have to get permission to take a sick inmate to the hospital. He can't decide when he's going to have a heart attack. You know what I mean? His conditions decide when that's going to happen. So just like when the officer at 29 fell out and was having a heart attack, the ambulance that we had broke down, taking them to Sunflower County Hospital. If we had had proper equipment, You know what I mean? Man, y'all need to see the ambulance that they have. It's got mishmack doors on it, and it don't run half the time. You know what I mean? I've seen it quit several times when they came out to 29 to pick up somebody. And you end up having to put the offender in the van and try to get him to the hospital in time for his life to be saved. Man, that's unheard of. If it would happen to one of them or one of their loved ones, they would be crying and raising hell at the same instance. But yet and still, nobody at the top wants to do anything about it. You know what I mean? Not the new DCIs of institutions, because they want to play the buddy system. They want to be able to go and sit down and have lunch and talk about the things that they did wrong, not correct them, but to tell them don't let it happen again. You know what I mean? Or how we want to address the public when the question comes up about this offender's death, how this offender escaped, why the buildings are still leaking, why are there still rats, why is it infested with rodents and insects. So I think that we have to have a way to create an oversight, whether we have to get in front of get in front of the institution and get the news media out there and pick it until we say it's time for change. I tell the offenders all the time, y'all got the power, because if you didn't get out and cut the grass, if you didn't get out and cook, they still will have to feed you. You know, but it's some of them that's so struck with power, especially the few that he has in power, that rides around in the four-wheeler. You got a life sentence and you're riding around with a four-wheeler uh, all over the institution. But if an officer wants to use it, you're going to get him the third degree as why you need to do this, what you need to do this. You can't park your car. You have to leave your car at 30 and catch a ride out to 26 or 28 or wherever you're gonna work at. You know what I mean? Man, he's riding in a new truck. The same thing that new Nissan costs. The same thing that new Nissan costs. He could have purchased an ambulance. You know what I mean? The same way he's using that extra money, saying that he's using it for staff, but he's giving the case manager correctional pens. That's money that could be used to purchase the new equipment. You know what I mean? The same equipment that he bought to build the pavilion and pour the concrete out there at the fish pond, that could have been used towards an ambulance. You know what I mean? But nobody wants to do business with them because they don't pay. They don't pay the light people here in Pearl. You know, they're behind. They won't even come out on the institution fixing the thing because they're so far behind on the light bill. So you get behind on the light bill when you confiscate more money as a contraband, but you don't write that up. You know what I mean? I've been there when you confiscated 3,000, 2,000, 2,500. You know, several times when you confiscate people money off their cash apps, you season an offender's cash app. You know what I mean? Exactly. So when you confiscate money off people's cash apps, that's money, that's state contraband that you can use towards um, purchasing new equipment, especially in MLS. I remember when I first started, the the inmate welfare fund was like $1.2 million. It's $1.2 million, but yet and still, they weren't using it for anything for the offenders. They was using it for to further their endeavors on the institution, staff parties, and different things. So where did that money go? All the offenders that died have money on their books. Where does that money go? You know, nobody asked these questions. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know I had processed death notification for 3 offenders that had at least $2,000 or more on their books. Where does that money go? You know what I mean? So I just think that we've been so conditioned to being treated wrong that we don't even know what it feels like to even fight for our rights. You know, we go along with the program because so many of the officers now are just trying to make it to their retirement just so they can walk away. So I think that until they stand up, have the courage to say, okay, this is enough. You can go somewhere else in the state. This is enough right here. I'm not going to put up with any more of his corruption. I'm not going to put up with any more of his misdoing or his misdeed. I'm not going to let them give certain inmates more power than me. And you got staff that will transport an inmate in a van with no air conditioning in the summertime or no heat in the wintertime. You know what I'm saying? So for for um, an offender to have access to these vehicles, and you got staff riding around in subpar vehicles, transporting people to uh, uh, back and forth from Walnut Road or CMCL down in the heat, in the dead heat of summer. But you won't purchase new vehicles. You got inmates that are taking sick inmates to the hospital in the transport vans that barely gets around. Man, you don't care. You don't care. Only thing you care about, man, is lining your pockets. You know what I mean? Just like you don't. You had an inmate that escaped from 42 that they never reported. I think his name was Fane. When Fane just walked out and they called him down past CID in the chaplain. Now he's at 29 AL. He's long-term segregation. He's not even supposed to be at the hospital without a leg shot or a leg iron. He just walked out and was walking down the highway until another staff passed by. And he was all the way down by the shop. It's still considered an escape. So when the woman that saw him and called and reported him, they tried to put her in for officer of the month, but they didn't even write it up as an escape. You know what I mean? Because they didn't want to notify the public. How long was it before they notified the public when Criggs escaped? It still wasn't within a 24-hour period. You know what I'm saying? So you can let the public ride around in danger of or be in danger of something happening to them before you notify them of an escape. You know what I mean? Not saying that his intentions was to hurt anybody. I'm sure his intention was to leave and do whatever he wanted to do because he didn't want to face those 61 years, those mandatory 61. He don't care about 7 years getting added onto his. You know what I mean? Like I said, if you go back and show the tapes the week before or the months before, he had been leaving several times and coming back with duffel bags of contraband. You know what I mean? So how was he getting it? How did he get from 29 to the back gate? He already said he got picked up at the back gate. He told on who let him out, but he didn't tell on the special detail guy that took him from 29 or 26 or 33 to the back gate. You know what I mean? So it had to be a planned out thing to where he had already made up his mind he wasn't coming back this time. So I just think that, man, our focus is not just on the rights and wrongs that are being committed at MDLC. I think it should be focused on the leadership. Man, some of the people, Turner and the young lady that was before or after Turner, and Morris, didn't do half as much as the crew we have now at CMCL, at SMCI, or at MSP. Man, they're getting away with highway robbery, and they're getting away with crimes, man, that in any other state, it had been you and I, we would be sitting in prison right now. You know what I mean? When they can hire their uncles and first cousins into key positions without working their way up through the proper chains, I think that is the biggest example of corruption and nepotism that is in the state. People think that that was one of the biggest things that slammed Epps was nepotism. That's the biggest thing that slammed Burl Cain when he was in Angola, was him hiring his own people. You know what I mean? I think he had a cousin or something, and they slammed him for it. That's how he first became under investigation. Then they started following the money and everything, and they let him resign. They let him resign in the face of that's their whole thing. Uh, letting them go to counseling or letting them go on major medical and then resign. It's a loophole that they have in the state of Mississippi and the legal system where when an upper level staff gets under investigation, they can go and seek counseling for alcoholism, for mental strain, or major medical, and they're allowed to resign in lieu of being prosecuted. But when it comes to one of us who are on the job and they from the stress and the strain of a job and they want to go on major medical, they want to make them come back and tell them that they need to force resign. You got several officers around the state now that are on major medical that they're trying to force them out of the way, yet and still their people can go on major medical. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that we have a serious problem around the state, man, with everything that's going on. So what's up, man? Happy holidays to you too. But I just wanted to touch on that, man. You know, like I want to know who's going to be responsible when Triggs finished telling when he gets a chance. It shouldn't just be Tyler because it takes more than one officer just to let an inmate go, still running his shift, and to ensure that he got the back gate safely. You know, so it was a planned conspiracy, whether it be from the top up. And instantly, that special detail needs to, just like you went and took the knife after my one broadcast on me, you letting them have pocket knives around the institution, they have violent crime, where they've hurt other people, where they've hurt people since they've been incarcerated. The same way you ought to dismantle that special detail and let guys who in green and white who've been there, guys like Mac Watts or one of the field members, Henry Stevenson or one of them that haven't had a major rule violations in 10 or 15 years becomes part of the special detail. Not people that you appoint just because they watch your father when he was at CMCL. You know what I mean? You can't bring your people or have them transported from another institution down there because I guess you have so much trust in them to either tell on you for doing it, for tell on other staff for doing that job or be loyal to you. He's still incarcerated and he's been sentenced by the state. You can't put people in your vehicle, Batman, and take them where you want to without a transfer. You're not above the rules, sir. Not above the rules. So just like other officers and the policy says that you got to do a transfer to take somebody outside of the perimeter of the fence. Okay. Just like you can, you know, you have to talk to people about taking them outside of just like people have to do a transfer to move them from one unit or to take them outside of the fence or to take them to Delta or to take them to Walnut Grove to fix something. The same way when you want to take people over to West Point and take them out to eat, you got to do the same thing. Archie down here at SMCI is learning that right now. He was taking the guy out to the Harvest Fish House and feeding him. He got so comfortable with the offender, uh, Sam Jennings, that he let the man use his phone to call the new DCI, Mr. Hunt, and tell him if they didn't bring his son back from MSP that day, that he was going to blow up the whole institution. He wasn't talking about blowing it up in the literal sense, like with making a bomb. He was talking about with everything that he knew and everything that they were misappropriating funds for, like the tiny houses and stuff, like the chapel, like the auto mechanics. You know what I mean? With staff stealing, equipment coming up missing that was donated to the institution by outside, and people taking it home, putting it in their cars and vehicles and taking it home. I just think Chad White need to come in and do a full audit on our system. But look, I got my other podcast that started. I'm gonna leave here and jump over, man. You'll see it on my page live in a minute. Man, like and share this video. I thank you for listening, man. I really appreciate each and every one of y'all. I pray that y'all have a great and wonderful holiday. And I'm not finished. I might come back on here tonight and talk about CMCL and how they're treating their staff down there. You got rogue and corrupt officers that take it because you got power to walk another black staff out who hasn't done anything, that doesn't work around offenders or anything, but you write up something, you forge paperwork to get her walked off. You know what I mean? Man, all the officers that has left under mitigating circumstances need to file a class action lawsuit. You know what I mean? Against MDOC and all of that corruption. So I thank you, man, for listening, man. I really appreciate your time. And I love you guys. I pray that you have a wonderful holiday. And